Now, I know what you're thinking. That's not a horror film. I know. But aside from horror, another genre that I'm a huge, huge fan of, very, very passionate about, and haven't really talked about other than my top 10 favorites, is the true crime, mob, mafia genre. And I mean, also true crime with serial killers and notorious murders, but I sort of put that with horror, psychological stuff anyway. As far as not being horror at all, I do love the mob, mafia genre. And this is one that just came out. It's been getting mixed reviews. I guess I can see why. I've been excited for it ever since it was announced back in 2016. And that is the new film that came out this year, Capone, starring Tom Hardy. Now, and it was written by, and edited by Josh Trank. Also stars Linda Cardellini, Jack Loudon, Noel Fisher, Matt Dillon, and Kyle MacLachlan, which is a pretty good cast. Came out in May 12th, I believe, first on video on demand, then it came out on DVD. Now, even when this was announced back in 2016, with Tom Hardy being Al Capone in the new Capone film, which Al Capone, being interested in the mafia, huge figure that I've always been fascinated by. Tom Hardy is one of my favorite actors, definitely in my top 10. I knew this was not going to be a biographical film about his life. I knew this was going to be about his last year living in exile with syphilis and the deterioration of his mind. So, and then I saw a trailer recent. I meant to do a trailer reaction, but I never did. And it looked like it was going to have that gritty sort of, I don't really want to say epic, but that is what I mean, that Black Mass had with Johnny Depp about Whitey Bulger. Now, I knew it wasn't going to go that route, where Black Mass wasn't everything about Whitey Bulger, pretty much just how he came to become an informant for the FBI leading up to his exile. This movie would be like Black Mass had it been the final year of Whitey Bulger before he got caught as an elderly man in California. California, Florida. I believe Whitey Bulger was Florida. But whatever the case may be, I kind of forget things. So it's like that, but if it was directed by a combination of David Lynch and David Cronenberg. I say Cronenberg because even though Cronenberg's body horror, which this isn't, I know some people will say, well, it scares me to think about deterioration, so now it's horror. No, it's not. Personal opinion doesn't dictate genres. Or, well, at the end, the scene that's in the trailer with this Tommy gun and the scary music, that makes it horror. There's blood. Still not horror. It's still a crime drama, although an intense one. Even though Cronenberg, his body horror is very supernatural, this does sort of have like a Fly kind of feel, where it is as the film goes on, his body and mind becomes more and more deteriorated. And this is a very performance-driven flick. It all does rely heavily on Tom Hardy's very method actor performance, which of course, he sort of based his voice off Bugs Bunny. He kind of sounds, I can't remember the guy's name, but the guy that played Dr. Finkelstein and Nightmare Before Christmas sort of sounds like that, but there's never been an audio recording of Al Capone, so it was all speculation. Even the story itself is all speculation. We don't really know what happened in the final years of Al Capone's life, because this takes place after he served around a decade in Alcatraz. The deteriorating health from syphilis, they deemed him not a threat, to society, so they let him go. He's still under investigation because they believe he's faking his insanity. And I have to say, of course, we've had films like The Untouchables, where Robert De Niro played Capone, which sort of shows him at the height of his empire, but also his downfall. As good as The Untouchables is, when I saw it, I wanted it to be more about Capone than Elliot Spencer. Niles. Elliot Spencer's Pinhead. Jesus Christ. Elliot Niles, I believe is the guy's name. But Tom Hardy, like Johnny Depp in Black Mass, he does completely disappear behind the makeup and the contacts. This movie's not afraid, to really show him just completely going out there. I mean, there's a scene where he completely diarrheas the bed. He shits himself while talking to, agents with his attorney present. So it does really show how he's really losing it. I say David Lynch because it's very strange. It's a lot of hallucinations. Also, imagine Capone living in his Palm Island or Palm Beach, whichever one it is, Florida palace, but if it was like the Overlook Hotel, which is, I agree with Brad Jones in his review of that as well. It is like he's in the Overlook, because he is slowly losing his mind. He does suffer nightmares and hallucinations. He does suffer various, what's the word I'm looking for? A delirium. He thinks different people are sort of out to get him or are rats. Supposedly, which this hasn't been proven, but in the film he talks about how he once hid $10 million before he went to Alcatraz, but now he can't remember it. So now he thinks all his associates are after him for it. And you really are watching this sort of David Lynchian descend into a syphilis-ridden madness. I thought it was well done. It's getting mixed reviews. It sort of has... I kind of compare it to The Judge with Robert Downey Jr. and Robert Duvall, where it's got, Oscar bait story, Oscar bait acting with high caliber actors, but it got really poor to mixed reviews. Maybe I'm biased because I've always wanted to see a Capone film, whether it be like Goodfellas or, hell, even Scarface is somewhat based on him, or whether it be just the deteriorating final years. And I'm pretty biased towards Tom Hardy. I think Tom Hardy's fucking awesome. I'm not going to go too much into plot because this did just come out, but I will say the story and Hardy did a great job at just showing, it's not afraid to show a guy shitting or pissing his pants. He does a lot of spitting and kind of just crazy person acting. It is quite bloody. I mean, there is an elaborate Lynchian scene where he goes on this elaborate sort of trip where he looks at some memorable acts of violence that he's committed in his past. There's even a part where he goes into a ballroom that is sort of this overlook kind of vibe with Louis Armstrong inviting him up on stage to sing with him. Even though Al Capone was known to run a lot of nightclubs, that was popular amongst black musicians because he never stiffed them on money. And Louis Armstrong did know Capone. His recording of, what was it? Blueberry Hill, I think it was, didn't come out until after Capone died. All the actors, I thought, did their part. Linda Cardellini, Matt Dillon, Kyle MacLachlan. There is this subplot about an illegitimate son named Tony who keeps calling and hanging up. There's never been an official record of illegitimate children, even though he was known to have at least one mistress at all times. Some of the victims, like killing a woman because while having sex or about to have sex because she tried to hit him, or someone being stabbed a bunch of times in the neck. Those have never really been proven amongst the 33 people he had ordered killed. And of course, the big climax at the end where he has the, diaper full of shit, carrot in his mouth because he can't smoke cigars anymore, gold-plated Tommy gun just shooting everybody. Most of this film is fabricated. It sort of like, okay, take Black Mass, but say a lot of that never happened. Was I disappointed by the film? Absolutely not. I knew getting into it, it was going to be a bit of a head trip. It was going to only focus on the later syphilis post-stroke years, the final year of his life where he's just completely gone. We do see him kind of coherent in the beginning, only he doesn't remember who people are or where he is, all the way down to when he has another stroke and he has the mind of a 7-year-old, to the point where he can barely communicate. But I do see, I say Cronenberg very lightly or loosely, just because it has that The Fly kind of deterioration that gets worse. Definitely David Lynchian. I see not so much Eraserhead, but I do see some sort of Mulholland Drive kind of feel. Plus Kyle MacLachlan is in it, so it kind of has that Twin Peaks, which he was the main guy in Twin Peaks. Was it him or was it someone Yeah, okay, he was the guy in Twin Peaks. So that also kind of puts that in my mind. So even though this movie is not quite Goodfellas, which would be my favorite gangster flick, and I do have to stress, because I know people are going to ask me, when I say true crime mafia films, I do mean mafia. I do mean the Italian mafia, sometimes the Irish mob in Boston. Just because I know there's going to be some people that will say, well, I mean, this one guy got arrested, so do you like that movie? I don't know. This movie definitely has an Oscar bait feel. I do see where the poor reviews come from. It does feel kind of rushed, but I would say Tom Hardy gives a hell of a performance. He totally disappears, again, behind the makeup, the contacts, the carrot. Much like Johnny Depp did in Black Mass. I sort of did like, it took its creative historical liberties, which with a story like Al Capone, you kind of can't get mad at, because it, especially between his incarceration at Alcatraz, being released, and his death, it is a very enigmatic period. Although many things are speculative, rumors. But I liked it for what it was. I did like how it sort of muddles the line between reality and not, so it kind of sends us on this journey with Capone. I definitely don't give it a bad review. It's definitely very different, even from what I, even from not that I was expecting something to like I wasn't expecting Goodfellas, but I wasn't exactly expecting Eraserhead either. Um, I knew just judging by the trailers that I was gonna be blown away by Hardy's performance. Excuse me, and I was. But yeah, I really enjoyed Capone. If you think you're gonna get a Goodfellas or Casino or Scarface, you're gonna be disappointed. Even Black Mass, which I'm hoping there is a resurgence in the gangster genre. I could put this with Black Mass because it does have that very gritty, almost Oscar feel, despite the mixed reviews. Uh, will I be reviewing more films like this in the future? Maybe. I did do a top 10 of my favorite gangster flicks, so check that out as well. But yeah, definitely not a horror film, not even a psychological thriller or even a psychological drama. It is what it is. It's a crime drama. It's a true crime drama about the final years of Al Capone, but told through the aspect of his deteriorating health and mindset. It's not afraid to really show what happens. I mean, yeah, he shits himself twice, he pisses himself, he pukes. You know, you do get the syphilis with the story, which works well with the story he's trying to tell. Uh, Even with all of its historical inaccuracies, even though they are noted rumors and speculations, I still found it very entertaining. I still got to give it that credit. I found it entertaining. And it sucks that this came out during like the time of Corona, that it did come out back in 2018 like it was supposed to. Maybe it would have got more exposure, but it is what it is. I really liked the film, so I can say that. But Capone, Tom Hardy is definitely a performance, almost character study. I thought he nailed it. He did a wonderful job, and I liked the direction. I liked the story that it told. We hadn't really seen this side of Capone before. We don't ever really see him in power, which I think works. That's for another film. You know, again, it would have been like if we showed Whitey Bulger living in exile, but we had flashbacks to when he was the kingpin of South Boston. Wouldn't quite have worked. But I thoroughly enjoyed this film. I thought it was very entertaining. And I liked the David Lynchian, minor Cronenberg influences and inspiration. Even if they weren't inspirations, that's what I got from it. I really like Capone. Very solid film. Thank you for watching.